that in certain areas, when black people are succeeding, we see that nobody take.
This shit's stupid, dog. You shut your fucking mouth. There's consequences to what you say.
Okay.
What are you rebelling against?
What do you got?
We're trying to change something.
Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you.
The owners of this country don't care about the foreign owner.
Now, baby, push me. Push me again now.
Screaming at a wall.
Look at that. Yeah.
That's how long did that take?
Dude, forever, bro.
Yeah.
It took me a minute.
Procrastination or just the detail of it? Because there is a lot going on there.
I was a method. I sketched it first.
Mm-hmm.
But I sketched parts of it first, and I built it as I went, and then I colored my color concept as I went as well. That's what, because this is the first time I was using those AD markers, so I wanted to figure out how they work together. You know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have no clue when it comes to that. It's such a foreign craft to me. But my daughter, she paints, draws, does all that stuff. And I was like, where'd you get that from? Because you definitely didn't get it from me.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
But I love it. It's definitely like, I appreciate it. What's up, you miscreants, you misfits, you outcast of society? It's Kasper from Screaming at a Wall. Just want to give a shout out to everyone that is sending messages and giving their gratitude for the videos finally being able to interview people again. And definitely worthwhile individuals with a very rich history behind their life stories, and they're creative. And I got a really creative individual on the show today. His name is Wayne Schroder.
Yes, sir.
You threw me off with the last name Schroder. I just want to say too, and then you could bring the microphone a little bit closer, or you could sit a little bit closer. Yeah, there we go. So there's a skater. His name's Ben Schroder.
Yeah.
And your art, it's coincidentally reminds me of the way that he skates, because it's intense and it's vibrant, and it's just like a lot going on, like, and you really have to like pay attention to it. But I just thought it was funny that your last name is Schroder, and then I'm
connected with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that compliment, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. I actually got to share the cover. I'm sorry. I got the back cover. Wayne won we still haven't gotten our money back.
No, I know. We need to hit him up.
Yo, no, every day I'm hitting him up. We won a prize for the core PCC Inscape Healing Arts thing that they do at Pasadena City College through the core program. And if you don't know anything about the core program, make sure you check out the episode with Rudy G, and he talks about the core program. But anyway, I got to share this. They call it magazine or a booklet or a pamphlet. I don't know. But
magazine,
okay, yeah. This is his art, and then I got that back photo, and then I believe there's I got more photos in there too as well. So it was an honor to be able to share this with you, because you're one of the first people that I spoke with at PCC and the core program that right off the bat, we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
There's a meme with the Trojan horse going into the gates, and then they have the people at the door that are the friends, and there's people like us that have the horse, and that's supposed to represent, a basic ass how's the weather conversation. But inside that horse, it's this deep philosophical existential conversation that we end up getting to. Do you remember our conversation?
I don't remember verbatim, but I do agree with you on when it comes to like communicating the deeper aspect of our humanity, right? Because I mean, we live day to day our lives, but there's so much more to that, like so much more to who we are as human beings, and it takes the time to really do that deep dive in why we do things, why the way we communicate, why we act the way we act, and like doing all that, the soul searching shit,
Yeah. So how did you end up in the core program at PCC? What's your...
So, okay, that's a funny story. Coming to school in general, like I had no intention to come back to school because I was just doing the 9 to 5 or construction, all the hard labor shit, you know. And when I started dating my wife, she had gave me when I started getting really serious, she gave me an ultimatum. She's like, either you get a trade or you go back to school. And I was like, okay, let's go back to school. Say less, let's go. And
You're thinking that it's less work.
yeah, I was thinking it was less work.
Nope.
No, not at all. A different kind of work,
Yeah.
but not less intense. So yeah, she told me. So my mother-in-law, a lot of people don't know this. My mother-in-law is a professor at Pasadena City College, right? Yeah. So that's the deal.
Nepotism.
Yeah, no. So she's a professor for Spanish, and so she told my wife about the core program, and I connected. This was during 2020. So my first initial classes were online, but I got to meet the people from core, Ariana and Francoso and all of them. And when school started opening up, when it comes to my core experience, I didn't really want to get involved too much. I just want to keep my head down and get my degree and get the hell out of there, right? But Ariana, she's persistent. She, like I always tell everybody, like she has a tendency to be annoyingly persistent, but I love her for that because she brings the best out of people, man. And like we have a joke, we call her a prophet, right? Because everything she says something, people do it. And like for me, it's my same experience from my whole experience at Pasadena, not only with core, but also with the associate students and all that, So shout out to Ariana. But yeah. But that's
second shout out. She's got
she's telling you, man, she is the shit.
I don't believe that I've met her yet, so
she might end up asking you to do things though.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask her to be on my show, so it'll be mutual.
Okay, cool.
Well, how did you end up in the core program? So the core program, if you don't know, if you didn't watch that episode, the core program at Pasadena is a program for people that have been incarcerated, and they say justice impacted nowadays. And we could say whatever we want if we've been through there. I'm an ex-con.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but anyway, it's for people that are connected to people. Like you don't necessarily have to have done time. You could have family members. But what is your experience? Why are you even there?
Yeah. So my bad. Yeah. So like I've been incarcerated all my life since the age of 15 to 33. So I did 2 years and 2 months in the juvenile system and got out right before I turned 18 and caught a hot one on a rival gang member and went away. For 15 years. I got sentenced to 13 to 85, but being active, being stupid, being involved with a lot of the drama, I got more time. So yeah.
How old were you when you went in?
When I went into the juvie system, or
just for so how much time did you do? Like you ended up doing a lot of time. Like how long was your sentence? So you did time that got out and then went back.
Yeah.
How much time did you get for when you were away?
Yes. So initially, like I said, it was 13 with 85.
13 with 80.
Yeah, but I caught 4 more years because of a battery and a correction officer or non-inmate. Yeah, I was I mean, like I said, like I'll say this again. I don't glorify the life, bro, because it is so detrimental to who we are as human beings. So anything I say is not to glorify that reality. But yeah, I was all about the stupid, bro.
Yeah, I just want to kind of echo what you're saying is always with the intention with this show, because there's a lot of podcasts out there that do glorify that, and I think any sort of backstory that is being told is not to glorify it because this is the fact of matter is that there's still people that are still in that life. So I feel like explaining certain experiences, these people can relate to what you have been through or any other people have been through, like on the show, where it's like you were active and you added time, and like, because I think it gets to a point when people feel so desperate and they feel like they've lost all hope, right? Because they're doing those same things. But it's important to, I think, spotlight or touch on some of that stuff so other people can, they can see that, like, you can be deep. I mean, I was deep too. Like I was so close to going high desert when I was up in Suez, because I was on the 3-yard. I was about to go to the 4-yard. I had 53 points or something like that, and it was right on the cusp of me like starting to change, right? But I was so lucky that I didn't go. and my life could have been totally different, but it could have been totally different because of not having certain individuals in my life.
Right.
But so anyway, you can you talk about like what your experience was when you went there, like being younger and just the influence of it and how it distorted your perception of a lot of different things, right? It didn't help. It didn't help you become rehabilitated by being in there with everybody.
No,
right?
absolutely. So yeah, so I guess I could start when I was a kid first. Like, so I was involved with all the gang stuff with my because I got into gang stuff because of my family, really. Because I remember growing up, me and my cousins would look at my uncles with tattooed and all, and would admire that, that we would admire like the clothing, the style, the hat flipped over, all of that, right? And so we grew up with that, just and one thing, it's that life leads to prison, but my juvenile experience though, it was totally different. Like I got sentenced to a 6-month camp term that turned into 2 years and 2 months, and that's because I literally got lost in the system. I used to tell people like I turned 6 months into 2 years, but I don't know, man. I realized I was a dumbass kid, bro. I didn't, when you get more time, you get refiled on, right? In the juvenile system, I didn't get refiled on. I got lost in the system. My counselors or whatever, they didn't do my paperwork, right, to get me released, and my family didn't, So it's like, there's a lot there, bro, just being forgotten, And so when I came home and when I was late. Right before I turned 18, I didn't give a fuck. I was always small, like really like small. So I made a point where like when someone gets smart with me or whatever, or try to downplay me because I was small, I would get aggressive with them and fight people. And like I think Rudy had mentioned that too about being aggressive, like you shut things down. Mm-hmm. And I find that such to be the truth, especially in the juvenile system, because kids, man, especially kids in that situation we don't know better, bro. So all we do is fight.
Well, I was gonna say that's where I created a lot of the mask that I put on to. I would fight first. Like I was never that type of kid. I was never that type of kid. But I quickly learned that if I'm aggressive first, people won't mess with me.
Yeah, it's so true, man. Because I was the same way, bro. I mean, even though I was like involved with the gang stuff, right? I was small and very emotional, bro. It's just who I was as a kid, right? And but that like you can't show that when you're in the system. And then after that, coming home at 17, right before I turned 18, still with the bullshit. Like, and I end up, we end up hitting a rival gang member, and that's when I got sentenced to 13 years.
That 13 years.
Yeah, and right when I hit I remember hitting the reception, Delano reception. I was the second week that I got there, I turned 19. And I remember the homies pulling me out of my cell, and we just celebrated my birthday. And then the correctional officers, they told me, "Hey, man, you want to be a porter that night?" And I was like, "Sure, let's go." And that night, a homie came from the back, from ADSEG, and he said that there was someone that was no good in the yard, and they needed pieces back there. So I was a porter, so I had to take all the huilas and the kites and whatever to the other buildings to let them know, inform them. So doing that. Passing the kites to the homies, and another homie passes it to another homie from another building, and the correction officer's seen him, so he goes and tackles the homie, bro. So I see the homie trying to put it in his mouth, so to give him time to swallow it, I just take off from the correctional officer. I hit him, bro, and I start bombing him, and then I don't remember anything after that. They hit me with the batons, but I don't remember hitting him with
How old were you?
I was 19.
You were 19.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So. What you were just reactive to, like, you were.
I just was all about that life, I was like, let's just go, this is what it is, and so I remember taking off of them, and the correctional officers came out of nowhere and just beat the shit out of me.
Sure they did.
They dragged me and they put me into the little one-man cell, stuck me in there, and they were just talking hella shit, bro. Put me in ADSEG, still was with the bullshit, bro. I ended up getting 2 batteries on a correctional officer. And then I got another battery on a Bakersfield County Sheriff's, because I was supposed to go back and forth to court, right, from ADSEG to Bakersfield. One day they took me to court on my court date was on until Monday, but they took me on a Friday, so I had to stay there the whole weekend. And the homies were telling me how that works there in the Bakersfield County, because I've never been there. They're saying like depending what color band is where they're gonna house you, and I was afraid they were gonna lock me down because I wasn't coming from the ad sec. And sure enough, my band was yellow. No, excuse me, not yellow. Orange. It's orange and red. There's high security that lock you down. So I went around and I pulled. There was a magnet right there. I pulled it just to look at it, right? And it was orange. So I put it back, and the female deputy, she's like, "What the?" She started yelling at me, and me, I was a little jerk, and that's just
Yeah.
I used to do this to my mom and her friends. They used to get pissed off, but I would like, relax, chill, And oh my goodness, I set her off, bro. She called these corn-fed big ass fools. They came, told me to turn around. I said, okay, cool. I was compliant. They put the zip ties, and they pulled me out. As soon as we hit the corner and went into the elevator, they lifted me up, started rabbit punching me, right? And then they took me out of the elevator, and they threw me in a sobering cell, and they took the
Zip ties
off. I'm hot, bro. And coming from the joint, I'm thinking about cell extracting. So I ripped my the mesh pants that I had, and I covered the cameras, covered the door. I was like, let's do this. And the sheriffs just opened the door and said, take that from there. And I just cracked the sheriff, dog. And oh my goodness, bro. I mean, I'm holding my own for 2 months, for two of these guys for a good minute. I'm holding my own. And then they called code red and it's over, bro. I'm talking about the deputies came out the vents, bro. They beat the dog shit out of me, bro. Stripped me down butt naked, tried to put my sock in my mouth. And as they were dragging me down the tier, one correctional officer had me on this side. I'm not correctional officer, but a deputy had me on this side. And they dragged my feet were literally like I was butt naked, literally dragging. And with their free hand, they were just punching me in the face, bro. And they threw me in a sobering cell. Another one, and chained me to the piss drain. And they left me there. They pepper sprayed the hell out of me too. The next morning, the nurse came in and said, "Hey, are you okay?" Like I have pepper spray all over me. She's like, "Oh, you're fine." And she walks away, bro. And like, so the next morning, the lieutenant and the sergeants, everyone comes to my door. They open it. It's like, look it. If I take the captain says this, if I take those handcuffs off you, am I gonna have any problems with you? And I told him, nah, man, one ass beating a day is good enough for me. He laughed about it, but one of the dudes that were there from the night before was like, oh, it's the next day we can do this again. I'm like, man, like, it's BS, but that was like the beginning of my prison experience, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up racking up SH.U terms. So I ended up doing 3 years and 3 months in corporate SH.U.
Wow.
From there, yeah, well, a year in ad seg and then 3 years in corporate SH.U. Yeah.
Were you getting time added as well?
Yeah. What the deputies, the battery on the correctional officers, they gave me 4 years with 85%.
Cool.
4 years with 85%, and with the deputies, they give me a year, but they ran it concurrent, so I didn't have to actually really do that year.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was listening to you. It's interesting, that feeling of being like overlooked.
Yeah.
Like being younger.
Yeah.
And then like the carryover to the response that I think about, right? And I was going through that system that just you're constantly being, I guess, obviously like there's a lot going on internally where you're rebelling and not knowing how to regulate like your emotions, right? Because especially when you first started off, everyone kind of glazed over whatever issues you had as a kid. And this is, I still to this day reflect on all those moments that I went through and looking back on those experiences from being in a juvenile camp where, the people that were, I think the people that are in society are supposed to be taking care of these kids, right, to rehabilitate them, are just glazing over it. And then it continues and it escalates and it gets more violent and then it becomes us against them type of thing. And no one along that journey is like stopping and saying, hey, in any other branch of like society, we look, oh, they need help.
Yeah. Like, hey, these are kids.
And they're kids, right? And so there's carryover there. How do you look back on that experience of what you were going through and why you chose to rebel that way. Have you processed all that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And here's the thing that I struggle with, I wrestle with, right? Because it's the idea of like taking responsibility for the choices that you made, right? And I acknowledge that, right? I did some stupid stuff in my life, right? And I ask myself, why the hell did I do a lot of these things, right? But when I look back in my past, I recognize and acknowledge at the same time that nothing is in a vacuum, right? Behavior is learned. The way our first teachers are our parents in our environment, right? So you take these into account when you act and you speak in the world, right? And so I acknowledge that there's influences there, but I also, regardless of my ignorance, right, on certain things, I still have to. Those are still my choices, and rather, like I said, rather there was ignorance or not, there's a consequence to the choices we make, right? If anybody knows that, we know that, right? There's real consequences to the choices we make, and whether those choices are good or not, it all depends, right? But that's a reality, and that we have to deal with. So I still wrestle with that because it's like, fuck, man, it's like people have said this time and time again, like no man is an island unto himself. It's like we were like, there's a reason why us as human beings, as people, we gather together, you know, and build community, right? And I don't know, man. We come together, but we have a tendency to tear each other down instead of build each other up, man. And that's why you have a lot of this perpetuating this trauma. But like you had mentioned too, like in the juvenile system, this even those counselors or whatever you call them, I forgot. They at times perpetuate the trauma as well, you know? So,
like
I don't know.
Were they probation officers?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're probation officers.
I think that's what they... But, I mean, there's all these cases coming out now against Los Padrinos, Central, Silmar. I mean, there was... You know, I witnessed a kid getting his arm broken because, I mean, I had, I think two bottles of pepper spray sprayed on me, thrown into the hole, and I don't remember. It was like a month. I was talking to someone about that. I was like, the time that I needed someone to like step in and be like, what is going on with this kid? Everything that they did or what they showed me was that nobody cared. Yeah. And it just really reinforced that. So you were in it. Yeah. You were knee deep in it. Like I think a lot of us were. And it's funny that you say that because I was so extreme about being a gangster to like wanting to join a prison gang when I was in there. Like I was just doing all that, you know, everything. I wanted to be the best convict possible. And then it got to the point where I never thought I was going to get out, you know? And fortunately, like I said, I got to a point where, because if I would have went to High Desert, it would have been game over. You know, it was like, you know, early 2000s. Like that place was like nuts. But anyway,
my cousin went over there.
Yeah.
Because he was my crummy. So he went there and I went to the S.H.U.
And how long did you do in the S.H.U?
I did 3 years, 3 years and 3 months in the S.H.U.
Walk me through, did you do it like Pelican Bay or was it?
Corcoran, man, was, I want to say, a catalyst in my life. I mean, that was a pivotal moment in my life where things begin to change, right? My way of thinking, and that had to do with literature, bro. Like, so my first, I hit Corcoran S.H.U. I go to 484 left, and the homies hit me up. Hey, you know all that, right? They shoot me up a TV, and I remember just watching the TV, and I remember, man, like, I don't know. It was a weird experience. I was switching the channels. I couldn't get the channels. I was getting the wire. So the one channel came through, and there was a channel, a Mexican, Spanish channel, right? And there was a bunch of people walking on their knees in Mexico to Our Lady of Guadalupe, the shrine. And I started looking at that, and people were talking about a manda, right? Where they make a promise to Our Lady, and they walk on their knees to that, right? They can't do that now. I looked at that, and I was like,
you said they can't do that now?
They can't walk on their knees because it caused traffic, bro. Because they would like walk from down far, bro, and they'll be walking on their knees all the way up there, right? You can do it from the place where she appeared on the hill, and you can walk on the steps like that on your knees. Like
I think that's what they do, like in Thailand or Tibet or something for the Buddha. Like, they crawl like an absurd amount of distance to get. Like,
that's crazy. Yeah, like knees all busted, hands like I don't know how to do all that. But yeah, I remember watching that, and I was like, I don't know. I wasn't religious at this time at all. I wasn't even thinking about God or anything really. I would say some foul things about religion, right? But I remember just looking at that, and I mean, I think because growing up, we were cultural Catholics, right? And I remember just looking at that. It's like, man, if you can get me out of here, Our Lady of Guadalupe, I'll do that, right? That's another story. Before I got married, I had to meet my mother-in-law's family, and I got to go to Mexico. I got to go do that. Right?
Wow, you did?
Yeah, it was really cool, bro. Really, really.
So you stuck to your word.
Yeah. Wow. And I actually had a really a cool experience, and I'll talk to you about that later.
Okay.
But so I remember that, and then God, man. The older homies were telling me, hey, man, just read, right? Read and work out. So, like, I remember getting a cellie who was all into, like, reading and stuff like that and working out. And he would encourage me to read. And I even though I got my high school diploma, but my experience in the juvenile system was you shut up and watch the movies, you get your credit. So I could hardly read or write, even though I got my high school diploma. And I remember reading was so tedious. I would get a dictionary and a book, and I'd just read. Eventually, I got a hang of it, and I fell in love with it. Man, I like to say that literature was my at least to my recollection, my first real encounter with beauty, bro. Because I started reading philosophy and poetry. The first philosopher that I was introduced was to Ralph Waldo Emerson, bro.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the real American philosophers, first American philosophers, right? And his shit, like, really, really cool about the idea of that we're all connected in one way or another, right? And that with the life and the planets, right, the transcendentals, right? That word is funny too. Like, I ended up falling in love with the idea of the transcendentals, the good, the true, and the beautiful. Not so much the transcendentals of
of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because they be charging you though. You do like a word or something. They give you a word that you have to like focus on, but it's only a word that they know, and then you meditate, and then you can. Anyway,
oh yeah. Be one with the universe.
Yeah. You just gotta pay a fee.
Yeah. For a small fee, we'll get you to the next level. Anyways, but yeah, man. And I found out later, bro, that Nietzsche was influenced by him, though. As a kid, he read him as a kid, and I'm like, bro, that's totally radical, really American, trying to like connection with everything to like Nietzsche. Like, even though I don't adhere to this idea that he was a nihilist, right? If you read him, he was really communicating about
Nietzsche, right?
Yeah, Nietzsche, what was going on in his culture in the time, right? Like, he wasn't really saying like God is dead. He was saying like we killed him, like this idea because of what in culture, right? So yeah, but yeah, that was, and then I would read Robert Frost, like the poetry. I fell in love with poetry, and I started writing, bro. Just I'll get a piece of paper and just write creative writing, and I fell in love with literature and then I remember reading books on art, right? I was so fascinated about all these paintings in Europe and artwork and stuff like that. I got really into like the history of art from reading these books. And when I came home, I got to go to L.A. I forgot the museum what it's called. The one that looks like Rome Pavilion or whatever.
Mocha?
Not Mocha. This is in
Oh no, not Mocha. The LACMA?
Yeah, no, not LACMA. Is it LACMA?
Where they have the light poles in the front?
No, like it looks like a
the Getty?
No, yeah,
the
Getty.
Skirball.
Yeah, the Getty. No, not the Skirball. Yeah, Getty. Yeah, I'm bad with names. But yeah, I was like, man, those images that I seen in the books never do justice to the actual images, right? So that was a really cool experience. But I fell in love with the arts in general from just being reading, bro, and writing,
So Emerson, what were like certain things that like really stood out? That they challenged your perception?
No,
of
reality? Yeah. That absolutely, bro. Because like when I started reading, bro, I started thinking about like my life, and like I would think thoughts like, what the hell am I giving my life to, right? When you see all these individuals, when you read these things, and you recognize and realize that the world is so much bigger than the world, even my thought process, right? My thought process was very small in comparison to the shit that I was reading, bro. And I was like, so I think that was a snowball effect. Just reading that literature, it made me really think like, what am I giving my life to? Like, and does my life have value, right? and
things that you've never thought about.
yeah,
growing
exactly.
up, right?
Absolutely, man. And you start thinking like, whoa, you start thinking about my own dignity and the dignity of other people, right? And you realize, like for me, like I started really getting really into a, I don't know if it's spiritual or when I was in the S.H.U, but I really started really thinking about, I would start meditating too, bro, because the stuff that I was reading. I just started thinking about life and the deeper, like I said before, expressed before, the deeper aspects of who we are as human beings, right? And because I don't think anybody can come back from that. When you start really thinking about your life and who you are as a human being and where your place in the world, and you recognize if I'm thinking about this and I have this, so does other people, right? So do other people. So
Yeah.
I think that was the beginning of something changing in me. It didn't happen overnight, of course.
No, I'm sure it did.
My whole identity was wrapped around the life, you know?
Yeah. I was trying to look up what I had just read by Emerson, and I couldn't find. That's what I was looking at because I was like, he was fresh on my radar, and like his connection to like spirituality, and then like just seeing everything for what it is, and the way I was like, the way that it transfers over into now. It was like, it's just like he was here, like he was talking about like what is going on now. Yeah. It's just kind of a trip. But I wish I could find. It's crazy because I read that, and then like now I don't remember exactly what it was like. Only like maybe it was really short. I think it may have been like essays or something by him. Yeah. So yeah, that was the same experience that I had was reading.
Yeah, man.
Reading expanded my perception of everything because it was so small, and my viewpoints were so like myopic. It was, and then when you start to read, you like these people that spend their lives dedicated to exploring that. And I mean, essentially, that's what I was always looking for, right? Like I think a lot of people that end up in that lifestyle, they're exploring who they are. Yeah. And then they end up getting wrapped up in the identity of what they're connected to. And then that's what, they get tethered to. And then it's so hard to escape from that reality because that's like their belief system. And, and I think, again, like people that have that understanding, those breakthroughs, especially like when you're in there, because I think that's when it happens for the most part. I don't think that it's like people like get out and then they make the change, and they're like, it's usually like there's some sort of shift and change that happens when they're in there, and then they're still like going through those struggles as they're getting out, but they're still connected to that new openness. Right. When was what year were you in, and what led up to kind of like really like, I know that you said you worked on it, but like
making a decision just to like not be a jackass.
Yes.
Okay. But so yeah, Cork and S.H.U was a freaking fuck show. I'm not even joking, man.
What years were you in the S.H.U?
2003 to 2006.
2003 to 2006.
Yeah. So, okay, when I was there, program whatever, right? So, I want to say after a year and a half being there, bro, I remember, there's so much shit that happened in there. Okay, so I was in 484 left, and 484 right, there was something happened with the homies, and they all got taken out of the building, right? And no one knows why. I'm not gonna drop names because we don't need that. So another homeboy who was the Llavero for 484 right. I went over there, and the correctional officers came to my cell and said, hey, we need to get some of you Southerners to come over to this building. And they're like, why? Because we need to fill you guys up there. So no one knows why. So me and a homie start coming to that building, 484 left, right? Everything's peaches and cream. Like we do the regular program, whatever. And then something happens after a few months. Homeboy goes out to medical, And he comes back and we're in the group yards, right? The concrete yards before the cages. Because remember they started building, I don't know, okay. They started building these dog kennels outside the buildings after, during when I was there. And then afterwards.
They showed that in the movie Shot Caller.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've
yeah, I have.
Yeah, the little cages that are outside, yeah.
So yeah, but before we used to go to the concrete yard, so we would program with Aryans and skinheads, and it would be the southern Sureños and everything, and so we're going to the yard, and
is that where were you there at the time that they were doing the fights?
I came right after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, that's what would happen. Right there. So like the homie he came back from medical and we went to the yard together and he was telling us like the homies from the other building, the B yard, saying that the Avero, he's no good. The reason why the homies that taken out of that building in the first place is because he told that the correctional officer was gonna get a certain correctional officer was gonna get hit, and so the homies started talking. We started having a meeting saying, hey man, we need to take this guy off the guy out, right, the roll call. And me and another homie was like, no, like we shouldn't do that, man. It's like, that's a stupid move. We don't know what's going on over there. We have to make sure we get word first. But the homies agreed and they said, oh no, we're gonna take him off. So they did. And then the homie that was running, big homie that was running in the yard, he sends a kite over to our building saying that, who the fuck do you guys think you are taking my primo off the guy? So all the homies get got. Like they get their asses beat and everything. But me and the other homie, because we were verbal and saying no, that they I didn't get my ass kicked. So in other words, right? And so all the homies got mollywopped, bro. It was ugly. And then we find out the homie, the Avero, he rolls it up and says, find out it was true, right? And so like all of that ugliness, bro. And then me and another my cellie at the time. No, he wasn't my cellie at the time. We were told that we needed to take off this guy off the yard because of the group yard because it was statutory rape. It was a kid, bro. It was ugly situation. He was 17 with this girl. He turned 18. The mom didn't like him. They got caught having sex, and they called the cops on him, and he went away for statutory rape, bro. And so, the homies are not sympathetic to any story or whatever. So, me and the homie were told to get him.
Context doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. So we took him out the yard. They single celled, started me and the homie, and the homie went home, right? And so I was by myself for a little bit, but just the politics, bro. I mean, I get another cellie that comes out from a 50-50 yard. He was supposed to get off that yard for after 2 weeks or whatever it's supposed to be. I forgot, right away or whatever. He ends up being there for 3 months and so more drama happens, bro. And I'm like, this is too much, bro. And I didn't want to hit this kid, And so I found out.
I was. Now go ahead.
So I found out that they were gonna hit me. Yeah.
Oh, because you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because the homie that was supposed to do it, he said nah, and he rolled it up.
Oh.
Yeah. He was a lifer. That's why they told him to do it. So and I just said like, I'm cool. I'm done. And that's when but it was not just because of the drama of the politics. It was because of I was already started thinking about like, what the fuck am I giving my life to, man? It's like I'm young, bro, and I still have a life to live, and there's a possibility that I can go home one day because I have a date, And it's like, and now that I'm discovering these things, like I want to participate in these things that are so good, true, and beautiful, right? And yeah, man. So like I made the decision, and it was hard. Believe me, I still had to go through the internal stuff, bro, because my identity was attached to it. So what I attribute it to, whatever they say about those people who just call it quits, is I had to deal with that oath myself, right? And it's like, it's messed up that we do that to each other, man. Because,
well, it's hard to go through that process to break down your belief system, your identity for that you've created for yourself, because a lot of people crumble at those times.
Yeah.
And they never really recover. That's like to be able to like break everything down and then to build up your life in a way that represents you for what you want out of life, as opposed to what you were always guided to, like, because it's always, you're being guided by another hand through that process. It's never you didn't create that identity. That identity has always been there. You're not an individual. You're part of something beyond the self. It's a group, you know, and that's hard. Like, that's hard to recover from, and there's a lot of psychological, you know, side effects to that that I think are long lasting, you know.
My wife can tell you, man, I still deal with a lot of stuff that like triggers, you know, and like this is why my relationship's so healthy and good, bro. 'Cause, like, it's the best relationship I ever had. Like, instead of
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
I'm still single, so I'm looking for one. I'm looking for one like that. A keeper.
No, hey, so she's the one that's facilitating not only my healing but my success as well. You know, with the school and I honestly, bro, like, instead, like, when I do get triggers or whatever, and I respond a certain way that doesn't seem logically responsible, she would always ask me, instead of doubling down, she's like, okay, why? Why did you respond? There's got to be a reason where this comes from. And a lot of it comes from my mom. A lot of it comes from, like, the lifestyle and all that stuff like that too. So recognizing, but it's like being able to navigate that. It's like, why am I responding this way? And then being able to be in a space where I'm okay to be vulnerable, bro. And like, this is my haven, bro. This is my peace. And like, that's why I was expressing to you, like, I don't really let people, I don't really, because it's like, because there's a lot of shit attached to that, right? But I realized too, like, when I first came home, I put myself in this bubble, like, and because it's like a survival mechanism. I didn't recognize it until after being with my wife. She's the one that pulls me out of that bubble. Yeah.
What the previous interview with Rudy, he talked about the same thing. Like, we have this tendency, this propensity, I guess, for putting ourselves into like a bubble because it's comfortable, and
I think it's a survival mechanism too.
Well, yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, what has allowed me to be free for this long? It's like, I've created this, and you kind of have to do that in a certain way when you first get out, because you can't put yourself out there too much, because it's crazy.
For real.
It's chaotic when you first get out, and there's like so much going on. And you have to adjust, and it takes a long time to adjust. So if you just kind of throwing yourself out there, you know, you put yourself in positions that you might end up going back to prison. So it's like, and it makes sense. Like, it totally makes sense. But after a while, you know, it's for us, I think it's important to always progress, to always get out of our comfort zone, right? Because that's, you start slipping, you know, and it's the same with like being sober or anything. Like, you always have to stay on that type of, you always have to stay on, you know, reinserting all the things that we've learned over time to keep us like here. Because, you know, it's just like that. It could, you know, it could go the other way if you're not mindful of it. But I just wanted to say, like, in terms of like comfort zone, you have gotten out of that comfort zone, right? Like, going to college and you know, these
twice over.
we could talk a lot about your experience. So, like, you know, of being in prison, and when did you get out?
2016.
2016.
So this is the longest I've been home since I was 15.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're committed to what you're doing. And there's other people that I think are glad that you're committed to being. What is your title at PCC? We're gonna get into that, because I think that's kind of a big deal of getting outside of your comfort zone and going from this person that's like, I don't want to like put myself out there, but that's exactly what you're doing now.
Okay, yeah. So that's it's okay. I'll start from the beginning. Like I was saying about Ari, she told me one day, because I started coming to the space.
I'm gonna stop, and then we'll pick up there.
Okay. Okay, so one day I'm going to course space. This is the time like I'm out because we're back from COVID. We're able to come to campus now and all that stuff like that. So one one day I'm in the course space and Ari hits me up and says, "Hey man, why don't you run for associate student president?" I'm like, "What? No." She's like, then she kept on being persistent and asking me. It's like, okay, I'll do it because she's asking me. And then I go do it. I could talk to Carrie Afuso. She's our advisor for associate students. And I talk to her. She gives me the rundown on what the presidents do, what the responsibilities. So I run. Oh my goodness.
What do they do?
Yeah. So the president specifically, or the associate students?
What you would do? Like,
okay.
Yeah.
So pretty much the president is like of associate students is the face of associate students, right? So, okay. People have approached this in different ways, and I've talked to other individuals who have been in that position, and I took their advice, but I had to do it my way, else I was not going to be able to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So what I end up doing is just showing up in spaces, bro, and representing associate students, communicating a little bit about who I am as a human being and what I want to do.
Yeah.
And not, just connecting with people and trying to build community at Pasadena. So that essentially, like, I make sure that my board is okay, that they have everything they need, and that they're whatever they're setting up, events or whatever, making sure they get it done, right?
That's it.
But honestly, bro, like being in that, I'll get to the moment. I'll just say it. Being in this position and watching these amazing young human beings has been a beautiful experience, bro, because it's, like I said, it's definitely got me out of my comfort zone, but it's helped me how to engage people and lead, right, as a leader. And I've learned that it's not demanding or telling people what to do. It's encouraging them to, encouraging people to come up to a place of excellence, right? And this is the thing that I've always been like the part of whom as a human being is like we deal with so much of shit in the world, right? Tearing each other down and belittling each other. Like for instance, our words, right? Our words, there's so much power in our words. There's a scripture verse in the Old Testament that says that there's the power of life and death in the mouth, right? And that's really crazy. Like we can really communicate and destroy people with our words, but we can use our words to elevate and encourage and build people up. And that's what I like to do, bro. I like to be always that positive element, or I'm encouraging somebody, even if they mess up. It's like, okay, you mess up. It ain't no end of the world, because at the end of the day, who you are as a human being is far greater than any of this, right? And I just try to bring that, bro. And like, but those young people brought that out of me, bro. Even though I have an idea of how I engage people, like they really showed me what it is to be a leader, because they're excellent, they're amazing, bro.
How did they bring it out of you? Was it the energy or
their youth, right? And them just showing up, bro, and being like. They made me, because they always showed up and were on par, made me want to come up to where they were at, right? And being able to be the best leader for them, what they need, right? Have I done everything perfect? No, but associate students, they've really carried the weight, bro. They showed me the ropes too, like what it is to be part of this, It's been a cool experience. So like when I first started, I remember like Carrie was like, "Oh, you got a campaign." I'm like, "Campaign?" And like, so I had to show like, yeah, so I had to write this whole thing out, and I would go to my classes. I asked my professors, "Hey man, can I step in and just give a little spill about what I'm doing and I'm running?" So I did that. I would go to the classes, bro, and I would just give my little spill, share who I am, what I've experienced. I always represent CORE everywhere I went, and explain what CORE was, so they can get an idea. And it was just really cool because I got to represent CORE and be able to bring awareness to CORE and what CORE does, but also be able to represent and like who I am as a human being to get people to vote for me, right? And it was really cool. I was running against 2 other people too. Yeah.
I mean, how did that feel for you?
It was wild, bro. I mean,
it's just going from
like I said,
doing a S.H.U term to on campus, doing that is pretty amazing.
Yeah, like I said, man, it's like. The experience, bro, has been really cool. Like I said, it pulled me out of my comfort zone, and it's made me a better person, made me more social, bro. It's like I realized, like, man, I gotta be engaged with people more instead of being in this little bubble like me, school, home. That's my life, right? Yeah. And I'm fine with that. I love it, bro. School, home, and art, right? I love it, But engaging people, I'm realizing that it's good for me. And it's good for others as well, because I'm engaging with people and connecting with people on a deeper level. But it's so healthy for me to engage with people because I need it. I didn't realize that I need that fellowship, that need that community.
The same.
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to show up and be that person that younger people can look up to. And there's a relationship there that is mutually beneficial, I think, because I think what gets lost, especially now, and I've had this conversation before, where there's such a disconnect with people that are a little bit older and then younger people, where what we would offer, right, is like wisdom and like guidance, experience, and then they offer like their youthfulness and like their drive. And we talked a little bit about this before, but I think this is what creates ideology, where you have these like groups that are in bubbles and they don't get to experience all these different people that have different experiences that they have. And then you also like come to terms that like you have these connections with these people that maybe have different ideas or whatever. Because in academia, what I have found is that there's a tendency to get trapped in ideology, right? Especially with what they teach. And if you're not giving certain answers that they expect, which I think is really weird, because I always thought of like college level school, right, was a lot different than say elementary or junior high, where it's very like structured. It's only about like discipline. College or universities were like these places that you could just come to the table with like different ideas, different experiences, and you don't have to agree on everything, and you can you become a richer human being, I think, through those experiences. And that's what I've experienced, right? Like, because I tend to put myself in situations, places, spaces that I'm not, that I go into them and it's alien to me. But I force myself to do that, because at the end of the day, it helps me find myself a little bit more, because I do have this love for humanity, for life, right? And if I don't allow myself to do that, then I'm restricting myself of, I guess, my true potential. And that's why it's important to like show up in those spaces, right? To have these individual, like, I guess, like opinions about things that are not rooted in ideology. I know we kind of like went, turned a little bit away from what we were doing, but that's also, it's very relevant, right? To just having like mentorship, or like people that are a little bit older connected to like younger people. What has been your experience? Because you're obviously a little bit older than, so am I, like being in these spaces with, people that are younger.
That was on my mind, and like really thinking about like me being older, and like how just like being old, 41 years old, like these kids, I mean, that's one thing that I stopped my saying, I'm calling them kids, right? Because they're adults, right? And they have to acknowledge that, and like they're used to everyone else that's older than them calling them kids. That's the thing I try to move away from first. But they didn't treat me like I was old. They may make fun of me, like, you're old, right? But that's out of jest, right? Out of love. But they never made me feel like that. It made me feel right away like I'm one of them, bro. And I don't know, it's just maybe the way I come off, or because I don't come off like like a robot.
We have a youthful spirit too.
Probably. I mean, maybe that has to do with that. But yeah, man, but I was subconscious of that, or conscious of that, like, of me being older, like I'm gonna connect with them. It's like, are they gonna even listen to me, or like that? And like I realized, like, I had to push that out of my head, because it's not even about any of that. It's not about me. It's not about them listening to me about any of that, bro. It's about creating community and working together to create community, right? And it's been really dope to do that this semester, man. I'm like really showing up in spaces, being able to participate with different things, like even the clubs. There's so many clubs at Pasadena City College, and just showing up in those spaces and experiencing like the different vibe in those spaces, bro. Because like core has a vibe, right? And everybody's there, right? And it's so cool, man. We talk about everything there.
When the room is full.
Yeah, it's wild, right?
So many different conversations going on, so many different looks. And I love it so much.
Me too. I love it so much, man. It's like, and that's the thing too. If I didn't come out of my comfort zone, bro, I would never been able to experience any of this. It's just cool, just being normal, like what it is to be normal and go to school and hang out with people and just talk about life and different things, right? It feeds me, bro. It not only feeds me intellectually, but it feeds me spiritually, bro. It really does. And like, we don't even have to be talking about spiritual things, but it feeds my inner man,
Yeah, that's what I mentioned in the last Emilio.
Yeah.
I love talking to him so much. Like that's what I said. I was like, it fills me with so much joy to be able to have these conversations that go like pretty deep.
He's a smart kid, man.
He's super smart.
Yeah.
He's like, I feel like too smart sometimes because he has a lot to deal with like that type of like thinking. I'm like, man, just take it easy. Like but it's hard. Like, but yeah,
I get it, because I think there's the youthfulness, right, and the radicality as us as young men, right? Like when we have an idea of something, we'll give it. We'll give our whole. And sometimes I think that the radicality of him being young and all the thoughts that are going on in his mind, and I attribute him that aspect of all that shit's going on. Sometimes he's a little aggressive, radical. Him being young, right? But I know like if he continues, man, just growing, bro, he's gonna do something amazing in the world. Bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's already an advocate for everything, bro.
For everything, yeah. Well, that's why I was saying. I think it's important for people that have like that life experience to be there for like people like him. I mean, especially because I feel like people weren't there for me, right? Like if I had someone like me, like, well, I did actually at one point. That's what like turned me around. But how crucial and important that is, So all that youthfulness, all those things that like got you going like inside, how has that helped with your art? And like, how have you gotten into painting? Did you get into painting while you were locked up? Because I would imagine that you weren't. Were you doing it prior? Did you ever have any experience with
painting? No, right? With drawing, with pens and pencils and color pencils, stuff like that, and like what we can get our hands on in there.
Did you roll up the shaders?
Yeah, all of that, bro.
Dude, I was like legit like pretty decent at drawing in there with the shaders. Well, I would trace and then shade. Those shaders are the best, but faces, I could not draw faces. But anyway.
So like when I the last several years before I came home, I figured out what I wanted to do, like something artistic, right? And I say, animation is really cool. The idea, because of literature and art, right? Literature is a catalyst in my life, right? And I love imagery, right? Combining the two and learning. I just learned this too in art history class about composition narrative, right? And comic books can be considered that, but like if you go like to not Arcadia, but I forgot the name. The Arcadians, right? Ancient like Egyptians, the Mayans, like all. They would create these images, right? But it was a composition narrative. It told something about their culture or their leader or whatever, right? I love this idea of combining the world of ideas into imagery, right? That's why I think I was actually a philosophy major before I switched to studio arts. Right? I changed my major 3 times, but anyway. I did. So I started getting into animation. I would read everything I got in when I was in there, everything on animation. I'd just read and I'd just draw, read, and draw. So when I came home, I was like, okay, I want to go to school for animation. I went to Mount Sac. I remember sitting in the computer's like, oh, just register or whatever. I looked at the computer. I'm like, I asked the lady to help me, bro. And she's like, oh, just do this right there. And she walked away. And then like, then what? Yeah, like I got so discouraged. I just walked away.
Oh man!
So for so long, I just started working in the warehouse and everything.
Was ARC? Did you go to ARC when you got? Because they have. Well, I don't know if they had it then, but they have an animation internship.
Yeah, I don't know. Back when I first started going, they weren't.
Oh, okay.
But I forgot who. Before I came home, someone connected me with ARC. So the chaplain. It was weird. She was talking to me about Scott Budnick, right? And I was like, oh, the guy who produced the Hangover films. And I was like, okay, cool. I didn't think nothing about it. She said, well, why don't you get it until when you get out? And she was just mentioning talking about him, right? And then that same day, a guest came, and when I was talking to him in the little hallway in the chapel, and he was telling me about Scott Budnick. I'm like, what the hell? That's the second time in a day. I was like, cool. She connects me with the chaplain connects me with this dude named Carlos from ARC. And the first week I come home, he pulls up at my house, bro, and says, hey, let's go to the DMV. And he pays for my to get my ID, $50, right? And I'm like, man, Shout out to Carlos, man. That dude,
Yeah,
you know him, man. Yeah, 'cause, do you? Do you know?
I don't know.
Like you've been in. Well, he's one of the main dudes there, but
Oh, okay.
he,
Ball head?
No.
Oh.
I don't know. But I don't know.
I'll look him up.
Yeah, he's been like, dude. That dude helped me a lot when I first came home, bro.
That's awesome.
Cause I was working, but then I couldn't do the I was doing a Oriental food distributor. It's a big old freezer, bro. I was doing it. I was kicking ass, everything. The kids in there I was working with, bro, they're so foul mouthed, bro. I mean, I curse, but but directly towards each other, like, bro. I was like, I can clown people, bro. I was like in prison, and shit, you know.
Yeah.
But like there's one time, I'll put it this way. There's one time I was going into the trucks and I couldn't get in there because it was a small space. And I'm coming in, I was like, I can't fit in there. He's like, oh man, don't be a bitch. And I'm like, man, I just responded. It was reflex, bro. I just turned, bro, and I cracked him in his chest, bro. I didn't even hit him that hard, bro. It was regardless. I shouldn't have done that. But I remember him taking out. He's like, he couldn't breathe, and everybody's laughing, bro. And I walk away. I'm like, fuck.
Right.
I turn back. I'm like, bro, I'm not used to people talking to me like that. However, you don't deserve nobody to put their hands on you, and I apologize. He's like, no, it's okay. Everybody's laughing. He's like, oh, he's not used to that, whatever. They're explaining to him. He didn't say, I mean, he just brushed it off, whatever, but it made me realize right there, it's like, I cannot respond this way no matter what, bro.
Right.
And because I can go back, you know. It's like, from then on.
You could have.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you would have been like, oh, I'm
Uh,
pressing charges, like
yeah.
any sort of involvement like that, like.
Yeah, from that day on, bro, I told myself I will not use my hands for violence again, right? Because it's like, it was such a reaction. And I was like, I didn't expect that I even do, because I thought I did the work when I was inside. Like, all the work that necessary that needs to change the self-sabotage, all of that, right? And I came home and a lot of shit started coming up. I guess the biggest hurdle was the game I played with myself up here. You know, when I was like, you're older, you haven't done shit with your life here, you know, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
What was I don't know how we got over here. Where were we before?
I think, actually, are you going to be busy? Can I go pick up my daughter and then come back?
Sure.
Test 1 2, test 1 2. This is very, very exciting to be back. I'm not going to use that part. I'm just going to go into, I think we were talking about art and like how you got into art. So how, right?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
We had to take a little break there. I had to go pick up. Who did I have to go pick up? Aria, my child, who's an artist as well. So we're just going to jump into talking about art because, I mean, we're surrounded by it. So I think that we should talk about art because that has actually helped you out tremendously, right? In your success in staying out.
No, absolutely. Art, like, I know a lot of people say this, but I really do mean it, man. Art has been extremely therapeutic for me. It's actually helped me navigate some things that I don't know how to verbalize, right? And to really like express the ugliness, but also of that life, but also the reality that, okay, well, I guess what I'm trying to do with my art in general is trying to look at the idea of imagery, right? And I think we talked about this before. Like, we have a tendency to attach things to clothing or the way people speak or the way that people interact with others, right? Like we like, for instance, clothing in general. I have a big qualm against when people attach meaning to clothing, right? Like we as human beings, we have a tendency to attach glory, honor, respect to clothing, but also deviance to clothing, right? And it's just clothing, right? And it doesn't determine the condition of somebody's heart or their intellect or any of that or their behavior. So what I've been trying to do with my art, I'm trying to look at an image that is sometimes may be looked at as something deviant and trying to flip it on its head. That because human beings are a sacred thing, right? I'll say it this way. There was a priest who told me this one time and messed me up, right? He told me that when you engage another human being and approach another human heart, take off your shoes because that's holy ground. And when he said that, that really, really, like, it's changed my perspective of how I engage people, right? It's really saying, like, the human heart is a holy thing that we should take off our shoes, that it's sacred ground, right? It's like the Moses story, right? And I'm like, that's what I've been trying to do, like when I engage people, but I've been doing that with my art. They're looking at someone that is considered maybe incarcerated or a deviant or whatever, but these persons are a sacred thing, that these human beings have a story and a life and a meaning to their life. Is not just, okay, you did something, that's who you are, right? And like, I've been trying to like look at that because of what we do with image, right? With clothing, with the way we communicate. And so I've been trying to be able to navigate that with my art and try to express that, because even though I lived a life that was a lot of ways detrimental to my growth as a human being, it still is a part of me, and it was a part of me. And it's like, and there's so many individuals that are still walking that path. And I think honestly, like, we need to, I feel like a lot of these guys and women who are in that life don't acknowledge that they are a sacred thing, right? That they are, that they have a purpose, and that their life has meaning. And that's what I've been trying to do with my art, you know?
Yeah, we had mentioned Emerson earlier,
Yeah.
And it dawned on me the book was
Nice.
it was Self-Reliance.
Oh, okay.
And it's relatively short, but the way that he talks about the individual, because again, I think when you have this idea that you're only the whole,
right,
and that you're not an individual, you can get lost.
Yeah.
Right? You can get lost in whatever you believe in, whatever the group think is. If you're not an individual exploring yourself as an individual,
Yeah.
you can get lost. So I think that what I'm gathering is that, like, it's, for one, you're exploring your own individual nature, right? Like through the art, but it's also helping, I guess, other people that would look at the art to explore their own identity and what that identity means to them. Because I think when you start to ask those questions, that's when it starts to open up.
Yeah.
You can open up Pandora's box, as they say with that. And sometimes it's hard. It can be hard, right? Once you realize those things, because then there's going to be a lot of work. But the self-reliance aspect to what he talks about, and the being an individual, and through these exploring that terrain, we can become our higher selves and be connected more to, like, I guess it would, like Carl Jung would call it, your shadow self, right? Like that ultimate you, right? Without repression, without, like, you're exploring that through these, like the character, like right there, like, and the idea of clothing, you're exploring, like, those concepts and those things that are attached to that, which I think is really important for that internal process to happen as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like, I think, because I have expressed to you, like, the whole, I think I expressed to you a little bit before you left, but I've gone through a deconstruction in my life, twice, right? The first time, when pulling myself away from the drama, and within the last 2 years, like, coming home and being in that bubble and pulling away from that, and really taking it, actually coming back to school, really cracked open something that I didn't know was there, and it made me really, like, go into myself, and it's like, how am I engaging people, and how am I engaging myself, and is it beneficial for me just to keep my head down and go to work, go to school, come home, and that's my life? There's a good to that, but I think there's also I can lose the opportunity of becoming better, right? Because I feel like when I engage people, I'm always taking something from them, right? Especially if I have a good conversation with somebody, I'm always, and that encounter makes me a better person.
Yeah, I like that ringtone.
Thanks.
We should have just had that going on the whole time.
The background, but yeah. So, like, in general, man, I'm still figuring out, like, what am I trying to convey in my art?
Yeah.
Recently, I'm taking right now one of my last classes. this semester. This is my last semester at PCC, and I'm taking a portfolio building class, right? Yeah, and it's from Mary Rose, Professor Mary Rose Mendoza. She's an amazing professor. She's the first one that when I came to school, and I took her class, that she really directed me. She not only showed me how to do things like skill wise, right? Like how to perspective and all this stuff. But she pulled the artist out of me, bro. She's like, an experiment, do this. Like, why don't you do this? Like, she's always challenges me, man. And one of my first images, I don't know if you've seen it. It's me and it's a individual inside of Corcoran Shoe, right? And there's writing on the wall, and like there's light coming from the window, right? It's from a perspective as if someone's standing from the door, and I did it with a etching method called tiling, right? Where the lines are next to each other like that. It looks like tiles, right? All the way, the whole space, and it came out really cool. But I attribute her always encouraging me and pushing me. In this semester, I was doing this image behind you, with it's all ink. It's a big old canvas with and it's all ink. Right? She said, "Why don't you think about going smaller, like little?" And I kid you not, man. I said I got these little canvas boards, taped the sides, and I just started going loose, really loose. And I pulled the tape. I was like, "What the heck?" And then I just started dishing them out, bro. Like I started getting tighter and tighter with my line work on them, and then I started using these watercolor panels, Bristol canvas panels, but using ink. This is ink, and just like looking how the texture and how it looks like it's staining the material, right? So I've been experimenting. She's been really, really cool of like pulling that experimentation out of me, you know?
Well, I mean, it correlates to what you were talking about before about like reimagining, right? Because you're looking at these situations, these moments in time that are obviously, this guy's like in prison, right? Or this guy's a gangster and he's living a certain lifestyle, but there's like this vibrancy, there's this whole nother perspective to it that I think is interesting. What made you decide to, I guess, like choose like the color scheme that you do? Because you have a very specific.
So yeah, with color, man, before, like when I was in like Kasper, right, the shading, it's all black and white, right? Mm-hmm. So like I've always wanted to mess with color, and color has been so difficult for me. So I just been really like within the last couple of years just wrestling with color, trying to get a hold of color, and I still haven't like figured it totally out. But I just been every piece is an experimentation with color. But that being said, I also take into account what I've learned. Complementary colors, primary colors, and how they work together, how they sit together, lights and darks, tone-wise, intensity of color and stuff like that. Just learning this stuff in school. So it's really helped me with my work now. I just like I have all these concepts and ideas of like how color works, and I just pour it in and how they sit together. Like you have the reds, the oranges and the blues, they're complementary colors, right? The reds and the greens, complementary colors, right? So those things pop out, right? The purples and the yellows, right? Complementary colors, right? So, and then how they sit together, right? And honestly, there's also I want to say South American, Mexican, Mexico color palette within the images I do as well.
Is that a conscious choice to do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've always wondered how. I mean, it's the same for like people that decide to do a movie, right? Like, because it's such a long process to go through a script, and then you actually produce it. Sometimes like it's taken years for certain artists to like actually produce like this thing, and you're married to this thing for years, you know? And I'm sure that some of these pieces have taken a long time. How do you decide what you're going to give your attention to?
Okay, because like I guess, okay, I come in each piece I do. I always come in with my person, right? My worldview, my perspective, my philosophical concepts and ideas, and how I view humanity, and I try to bring that with me first and foremost when I go into a piece. So yeah, I'm being conscious of that as I'm choosing my colors, as I'm choosing the subject. Right. And honestly, my subjects are geared towards the the prison, right? At first it was like geared towards like the Chicano, Latino gang, redemption, sanctification kind of perspective. And that's just one perspective of my identity. And that's one thing too. I've realized that we as human beings, we have multiple identities. It's not just one thing. And I think that's what we get. We lose something when we try to attach ourselves to one thing. This is who I am, and this is what I am. It's like, because we're multifaceted as human beings, and we continue to grow in life. And especially when you get older, it's like you realize things that like that you thought were cool or awesome or maybe even correct or right when we were younger, that we realize now is like, no, that was like some really skewed way of thinking.
I don't know who said it, but they said that up into their 40s, everything else was just research.
Yeah.
And that, like, but it's true, because I'm starting to pull all these things together, right, that I was exploring, but now I'm in a state where I can like really process everything, and it's allowing me to feel more connected. But yeah, like it's all research up into a certain point, if you're allowing yourself to do that. But
yeah, no, I actually agree. I never thought about that way, but it seems so real, so true. Like, to think about, like, as soon as I turned 40, bro, I don't know, it's weird. I don't want to say like just the people who are 40, because that's not always the case, right? But I just feel like something clicked when I was 40. I feel like all the things that I've experienced, a new level of understanding in regards to who I am as a human person, human being, and how I encounter people and encounter the world in general, right?
Yeah.
It's trip.
Yeah. So with your art, I don't think we actually didn't answer, because I think I interrupted you. Yeah. But like, what you choose, like how that process is for you, how you decide.
Yeah. So no, most of the time it's maybe in the beginning I was very like I guess afraid when I made my marks, right? And I wanted to be very precise and like, this is the subject and idea. Now I'm very organic, bro. I just go in, I'll see an image and I'll do a sketch. I'll do the sketch of directly on the piece, very loose, right? And then I'm able to like trim the fat off the sketch, right? And then get in there and just start building up. So most of my images now are coming from a place of just organic. Just, I'm not having a preconceived concept before I go in, right? Just all that, like my worldview and who I am as a human being. Like,
oh yeah. You did mention that actually. Yeah. But I was just thinking like in terms of
like method,
and then just specifically. So you always start with an individual.
Yeah. So
and then everything is you know, I'm sure that you know this, but there is a psychological process to that I'm very like fascinated by, right? Because again, it just doesn't come out of thin air.
Yeah,
like
I got out of a vacuum. Yeah, right.
Or maybe you think it does, but it's just always something like more layered there. So like for you, is it cathartic to be able to go through that process of reimagining because you obviously have an emotion that is attached to these scenarios and these setups that you're drawing. So is it cathartic for you? Or is it part of that healing process, I guess?
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I started doing these images, right? I would be, when I'm done, I'll sit and look at it like, oh my goodness. I was like, not only like, I can't believe that I did that piece. It was like, what I said in that piece, it's like healing something here, right? Because like even that one, when I did that one, a lot of stuff was going on behind the scenes with homeboys and stuff like that from the neighborhood, like, and coming up in my life, bringing a lot of that ugliness back up, you know, just a lot of stuff. So it just made me.
That was happening at the time that you painted this.
Yeah.
So you still have to battle with.
Oh yeah.
Oh okay.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, yes and no, because I've detached myself so much, but like, because you're family members and everything, someone's connected with somebody. It's just like, it's there, bro. And it's like,
yeah. How do you navigate through that? Because I mean, I completely disconnected at one point, and then I talked to one of the guys that I used to hang with, but I was like, dude, I don't want anything to do. So
recently, a really close homeboy of mine, like jumped me into the neighborhood, all that stuff like that. he just wanted to see me, talk to me, right? And I was like, okay. I think, he was my road dog when I was growing up, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that would have been a bit beneficial. Well, no, I thought I owed him something, right? Because of that, right? And I was willing to help him. I was like willing, like, hey man, connect you with this, whatever. The mentality, bro, is what is so destructive, right? And not to really get into that conversation, bro, but it just went somewhere. Because I met up, I showed him. I didn't know it was just gonna be a conversation, but it was a conversation, and it broke my heart, bro. Just to see that an individual who's older has allowed a way of thinking just to dominate his life to the point where, like, you can clearly see that it's not benefiting him, right? Already doing meth and everything. It's like, and him just coming home too as well. So it's like, golly, bro. And it's like, I want to scream and yell at him. It's like, bro, it's like, there's so much more in the world, and you are so much more than any of this, you know? And it's like, but
At that point,
yeah,
at that stage.
Yeah. But all I can do is, like, I love him. I love my homeboys, but I also can love them from a distance, especially if they don't want to change, because my trajectory is in a whole different.
It's also, your love is different now.
Yeah.
Than what it was before.
Oh no, absolutely.
Right. It's beyond, like, it's not superficial. It's like, that's a real love, like to reconnect, right, with that, because you've gotten so much, and what has gotten you there with that new love, that you want to share that.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, is that some people are so far gone that you can't. And that's one thing that I've learned too about showing up in these spaces with other people that are like-minded, right? Because they're all fueling each other, and it's an amazing, like, feeling to have that, like, that mirror. Like, when I look at everyone, I hear, like, these stories from everyone, I feel like myself in them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like this. It's just echoes.
Yeah, in a sense, it is telling your story. That's why, because, like, you know what it is. Like, you never heard of that saying, like, veterans know what veterans go through, right?
Yes.
And it's the same thing with those who have been formerly incarcerated. Like, especially if we did level 4 and like any kind of incarceration, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, there's an understanding and experience that we have, that we can connect. And yeah, I can call it's more than trauma bonding, right? Because there's, like, a reality that we've experienced and we understand, that we don't have to say things specifically. You already understand, right? And I think when you hear your story, it just resonates with you as a human being. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a comment not too long ago, well, it's a couple years ago, that this lady was talking about how her husband never stopped talking about being in prison.
Yeah.
And I responded to her specifically with, like, a video back then, because I associated exactly what you talked about with people that are in the military that have gone through war together.
Yeah.
Like, they know, and there's this bond, and it's, I think that, it's a little bit different for those that have, like, been locked up, but now they're, like, continuing, like, this growth, right, by showing up in these spaces and, like, really putting that energy out there.
Yeah.
And you touched on it earlier about, I think, not repressing those different parts of ourselves, like even those parts of ourselves that allowed us to get through those really tough times, right? Because I look at a lot of that as, like, a mask. Like, I needed a mask in order to get through. When I hit juvenile hall, I put on a mask and I became that person, but it was only out of survival. I was trying to protect myself, right? Mm-hmm. And that, of course, went into the prison system. And I thought at the time, the more that I was, like, down, that I was protecting myself. It was all to protect, even though it was coming from fear, it was all to protect myself. And you touched on it earlier about connecting to these parts of ourselves, because we're not singular. We're multi-fat. There's so many. I have, you know, maybe 5 or 6 different parts of me in terms of who I am, personality wise, because of those experiences, and not allowing. We talked about it earlier about letting that out in some healthy way.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the times that they can kind of come up and manifest themselves and get angry and like want to punch somebody or like whatever, because you know they're there, like it's like being alcoholic or someone that's been locked up. That experience and what is going on internally will always be there, and you have to, I think, acknowledge all these different aspects of yourself.
You know what made me really realize that what you just said right there was that animated film. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before. Inside Out.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Dude, when I look at that movie now, I have such a different. Go ahead.
Yeah. Dude, when I first seen that film, I was like, "What in the world am I watching?" I was like, "Yes. I get it. I understand." It's like, it made me realize like all the emotions and everything that we are as human beings, like those things that like we have it, either we oppress them or like, first, okay, let me just say it this way. When I first watched the film and I seen Joy trying to dominate everybody, right? It's like this person needs to be joyful all the time, right? It didn't allow sadness and anger to express themselves in a healthy manner, so it caused what? Trauma, right? It caused oppression, right? And of the other emotions. But when sadness was able to be expressed properly and healthily, it became a healthy emotion and a positive experience. And that thing, when I realized that, I was like, oh my goodness, that I need to be able to express all my emotion, even my rage and my anger. And there's ways and methods to be able to express it in a healthy manner so that can be a positive experience, bro. So the next time I experience that trigger, I can be able to respond in a positive way because I've created a positive core memory, bro. And that's what I'm saying. That's
a positive core memory.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, bro. And it's like, God, dude, it's like that. That's what I'm saying. That film, I can't wait to what part two. Yeah, we're gonna go watch it together because
I'll be down.
Man, dude, I'm literally yeah. I literally want to get the tattoos of all the characters on me, bro, because that film is so powerful, bro. My cousin, right? His twin brother's my crime. This guy is so stoic. Like you can't get emotion in him. He's like, because he's wounded, right? He's been through a lot of stuff, bro. He's been a lot of stuff, right? And I showed him the film, right? And he turned and looked at me. He's like, "This is made for kids." I was like, "Bruh, that's what I'm trying to tell you, man." And it's like it messed him up too. It's like, wow, bro. It made him realize like he needs to be able to express his emotions because he doesn't know how to do it. But we've been really like trying to be able to be in that space where he can be able to grow and elevate, right? I got him to read and everything too now, so it's really dope.
That's always fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When like you see someone then the switch happens or like they're moving in that direction. Yeah. I'm so thankful that you brought up Inside Out because when I watched that film, not when I first watched it because I believe I watched it with my baby when she was little, so it was just like me being there watching the movie. Yeah. And then after a while, like watching it 100 times, I was like, wait a minute, there's some like really deep things going on here. And I think one of the things that resonated for me too was that two things can coexist, right? Like it doesn't have to be like either or, like all in or all out. Like and one thing is dependent on the other thing, right? Like to meet in the middle is like where we always want to be. And that was like me connecting those dots to like Taoism. Yeah. Right. And but anyway, yeah. I don't what we were talking about before that. I don't know.
But no, you had talked about the emotional thing, like the way you learn to be.
Well, just being able to, I think, allow that space, and I think that's like also the place that I'm at, right? And you touched on it, is that can really happen at any stage in your life. But for me right now, because I'm showing up for myself, and I'll use the example, and I may have talked about it before, but I had stopped playing basketball for like a really, really long time because there was a part of me that didn't acknowledge, like I repressed a part of myself that gave me a lot of happiness, right? And I I played ball like when I was locked up. I started a tournament, and I remember I tried to connect to it, and it must have been at that certain time in my life when I was reevaluating everything. But I never played like when I got out. Like I just like anything that was like previous to my incarceration, I was like, I'm just abandoning everything. And so it was during the lockdown that I watched the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. And dude, I was like third episode in, and I started bawling.
Damn.
I just started like crying. I was like, what what is going on? And then I ended up having this conversation with that 12-year-old kid that basketball was my life. And I wanted to play college ball.
I know that's
And I wanted to, and I had, and I learned this in therapy too, is like the reimagination, right? And Carl Jung talked about that too. But like, I allowed that space for me to actually listen to what was going on, as opposed to be like, the fuck why am I crying, right? And just like abandon that. But I allowed that space for me to listen to that younger part of me. And, and the end of the conversation was like, I acknowledged, right? And I was like, I'm sorry that I did that. And I'm sorry that I ended up being a gangster. Sorry that I started. And so anyway, my answer to that kid was like, we can't do any of that, but we can play ball. We can play ball 5 days a week. And that translates, I think, for other situations, right? Have you gone through that?
Oh yeah. Just recently, actually, dog.
Did you?
I'm not even joking, bro. Like, same kind of scenario. Yeah, just let me know. Yeah, good. Yeah, just recently, bro. The whole thing about what you just said about forgiving that person. I told you, I thought I did the work. I thought I told that little kid, I forgive you, right? Because you may be like you do so much ugly stuff in your life, right? And you get forgiveness from people, right? But that part of when you're forgiving yourself is so essential, dude. And like my wife said, like, because I snapped, right? She had said something that triggered me, and then I started doubly downing on myself, right? Like, man, I shouldn't respond that way. What the hell's wrong with you? Blah blah blah, right? And then she's like, babe, you need to forgive yourself. You need to say it out loud. And as soon as I did that, I'm not even joking, bro. I cried. I was in the parking lot at Pasadena City College for an hour. I had to get to class, bro, and I couldn't stop crying. I was like, what the hell is going on? This is why I'm an advocate for therapy. Therapy is so essential, especially there's anybody who has experienced violence, whether they inflict violence or have had violence inflicted upon them at any stage of their life, needs to be able to heal from that and navigate that, right? Because it does traumatize you, right? And because it does something. We're not designed to be able to destroy each other, dog. It's like we do that to each other, and like I didn't know what was going on, bro. I was like, why am I crying? Like, dude, I thought I dealt with this stuff, and it's like, I'm realizing that there's a lot of stuff in there that I, like most of us, right? We're still working on, right? But yeah, man, it's crazy, bro. When you have those emotions that you realize that, damn, man, it just messed you up for a minute. Yeah, because it was during that time too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And you've translated a lot of that to your art.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. Like, I think within the last weeks, bro, I've been dishing out like pieces, bro. Within a day, I would knock out 3 pieces, bro. I just been knocking them out. Just been coming from a place after like I said, the professor told me to switch to go smaller with the inks. I just been knocking them out, bro. Yeah.
Damn.
And I feel like, man, I'm really in a creative season right now in my life, bro. It's just pouring out of me.
Yeah, and you're just doing it.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing a show or anything?
I want to, bro. I want to. Because that's what I eventually want to do. I want to be I want to be versatile, and I can do story boarding, illustration, comic book, storytelling, whatever it is, right? But I also want to put my stuff in galleries, bro. And I think the type of my art, I want it to be seen,
Yeah, I mean, you definitely should let it be seen. I mean, a couple people are gonna see it today.
Yeah. Right.
So did we talk about when you first got into art? Did we touch base on that?
I think a little bit when I was in prison about the animation and drawing and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that, like, what was it about that medium, this specific medium, that did it bring something out of you, or would it be, like, was it really natural for you to do?
No, I mean, it was difficult. I couldn't, when I first started drawing, I couldn't draw a stick figure, you know? I took tips from people. People would tell me, like, I would copy everything, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually I stopped, copying meaning by tracing, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then eventually I started just looking at pieces, right? And I'll tell you, man, drawing for life is indispensable, bro. If you want your work to look, do you want to grow as an artist? Like, drawing for life is indispensable. Looking at, because like when you look at a flat image, it's 2-dimensional, right? You don't get even though it appears 3-dimensional, it's still 2-dimensional. But when you look at something in a 3-dimensional space and try to render it into a 2-dimensional space, it helps you. It trains your brain and your eyes, you know, how to see.
You've done that quite a bit.
Oh yeah, when I started really getting back into, like, at Pasadena, when I started getting into art again, I was drawing every day, bro, every day. And I took every class in there. Like, I took the figure drawing class, the drawing from life. That was indispensable. And then with drawing, bro, drawing every day is I feel like that's the only thing that separates you from someone becoming a really good artist, right? Yeah. It's like the whole saying, practice make perfect, right?
Yeah.
Putting in the work.
I try to tell that to my aspiring daughter. For art, you got to do it every day.
Every day.
Because you put in that work now, when you're older, you're going to be able to make a living at it. And
especially if you do it now, by the time you're 20, you'll be a master artist.
Yeah. Are you listening to any of this wisdom that is going on over here?
Yeah.
No. She's got her head in a book.
Yeah. Well, at least her head's in a book.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, what's good?
Yeah.
What's good?
Tell me.
I think we can go ahead and wrap this episode up. But before we do that, would you like to give any departing words of wisdom or messages, or would you like to say anything to anybody? Look, we're starting. You only have one life.
Yep. Absolutely. There's only one life, dog. They ain't getting away with this one. So I heard someone say, you can't get out of this alive.
Yeah. There's only 2 things that are certain in life: taxes
and death.
Yeah. You may not know this because the cameras. I don't know where I have one of the cameras went off. I'm just gonna be straight up about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Wayne dropped the most insane nugget of knowledge I've ever heard from an individual, and it's gonna be lost. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. It's just the way.
Bro,
it's a one-man operation.
Yep, that's gonna go down in the history. I don't remember what I said too.
That's usually the way it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could say it all over again, how would you summarize that nugget of knowledge that you would like to share? Because I think that we have come to that fork in the road where we depart, and you go that way and I go that way, and then we're eventually going to see each other at PCC after this. But it's going to end the episode. Is there anything that you would like to share with the people that are watching?
Yeah, just to touch on that, the one life. We only got one life, and what we do matters. The choices that we make have natural consequences. Whether those consequences be good or bad, it's a reality that we have to face. One life, man. So I just want to encourage anybody, wherever they're in their life, that participate in something good, true, and beautiful, man. Because there's so much bullshit that's going on in the world that we don't need to do that to each other. Life's going to tear us down. Life isn't not going to give us nothing. It's going to tear us down. So participating in building each other up is so important, man. So yeah, that's what I want to say, man. Participate in building each other up instead of tearing each other down.
Awesome. Yeah. You touched a little bit on doing live drawings. Who would you have in front of you if you could choose any person that you would be able to draw?
Like, and of all time, or just like, probably.
Who signifies beauty to you?
You know what? I don't know about beauty, but I'll say Ralph Waldo Emerson. I would like to sketch his ass. Yeah.
Not his ass. Not his ass. Well, maybe I don't know what. What
Not that
sort
kind
of?
that kind of podcast, brother.
Oh no. Well, I just want to say thank you. It truly is an honor to be able to interview the people that are part of CORE, because you guys have really reconnected that part of myself for me to want to share my story a lot more. And like I said, you were one of the first individuals that I met that we went in deep right away. And I appreciate that. Like it makes me, I always get something when I'm talking to you, and you don't get that every day. And I just really appreciate that. And I do think that you're right. People need to start sharing their stories or feeling comfortable to talk about their experiences, and for us all to be able to intertwine these stories, to just be able to relate and not to be so polarizing. And it was an absolute pleasure to have you here, and we're gonna have conversations in the future, you know, that won't be recorded with lights and stuff. And
Thank you, man. I appreciate those.
Serious,
bro.
yeah, serious. And again, and
I enjoy our conversations too when we're just chopping it up, though.
Yeah. I think these are bonds that we're creating now that are going to be long lasting, you know, into the future, no matter how much time goes by. And
my wife tells me that too, because I have no friends like from back in the day,
same.
She has friends from kindergarten. It's like, who has friends from kindergarten? You know,
my daughter. You know what I mean? But that's what I wanted for her, because I knew that's what I was always so envious of that. But like to be able to watch, like you guys, everyone that is part of CORE, like grow and graduate, and they're like doing all these things. It's like, I just want to give a shout out to all the people that are in CORE that are graduating today.
Shout out.
There's quite a few people that are graduating today from, I think, Cal State LA. And then we have people like me that are going to be graduating. You're going to be graduating from PCC. I'm stoked, and we're all part of this together, and I love it. And you should share in your community if you got a story to tell. Even if you have a story to tell and you want to be on the show, reach out. I'd love to interview you. And again, thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe and share. Appreciate all the feedback from everybody for us coming back and actually doing interviews again. I've gotten some really cool messages that makes me it just makes me more motivated to do them, right? Like to share these stories. So definitely a shout out to the people that reached out. But until next time, stay free. I'm telling you, I don't know how to end these. But yeah, all right, peace.
Peace. Stay free, like you said.
Yeah, or else.
All right, man.
All right, with that.
That's cool, man.
You have fun?
Yeah, that was dope.
And I know there's so many stories.
Yeah.
Fuck.
No, I'm gonna kill him. Stupid cameras. First and foremost, before I read this statement from AS, I want to apologize for my words and my actions. I know that's not the proper way you deal with negative situations, and this is not an excuse. I just don't understand how we can allow such kind of conversation or talk towards a community that has suffered so much in this country. But that's not to make an excuse for my words and action, and I absolutely apologize, and I accept the consequences of my words and my actions, whatever they may be. And my actions do not reflect. It's in total contradiction to this statement from AS. I just want to make that statement. A word from associate students. As associate student president, I have been granted the privilege to speak on behalf of not only associate students, but on behalf of the student body here at Pasadena City College. A great privilege. Associate students understand that being in a position of leadership is not always easy. We acknowledge this because we have discovered that leadership is an assignment of service. This takes a special kind of crazy, because in a way, service is like sacrifice. We give ourselves as an offering of love. In practicality, it means to have patience and grace, understanding and empathy. It means the ability to communicate with integrity and intelligence.
It's understanding the power we possess in our words. Therefore, we should be having dialogues with the purpose of edifying, encouraging, and building each other up, instead of using our words to tear down and destroy. The world will do that for us. We do not need to do that to each other. Our humanity is one thing that we have in common, and that is enough. Pasadena City College is a community of teachers, students, faculty, and staff. As both educators and learners on this land, we are given precious opportunity to grow not only ourselves, but also the community around us. We also acknowledge that fostering and maintaining community takes work. And as associate students, we are willing and eager to participate in that work. For most associate students, our time here is limited. We are leaving, and you all will remain and have to work with each other. Yet, with this privilege we have been granted, we are dedicated and ready for that work. We humbly ask everyone in this space and on this campus to please help us foster community, a community of dialogue and understanding, a community where we see and hear each other. If these things are lacking, then maybe we need to slow down and ask ourselves, what are we actually doing? Associate student business. We have kicked off the semester celebrating the return of our students with Welcome Week and various upcoming events throughout the semester. Tomorrow, February 22nd, marks the collaboration celebration of Lunar New Year. And on February 29th, we will be having the Black and Brown Makers Market in honor and celebration of Black Heritage Month. Thank you.
Why are you rebelling again?
What do you got?
We were trying to change something.
Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you.
The owners of this country don't care about the poor and you know.
Now, baby, push me.